I will have to get a reading on today and what's going on with me as to why I was getting ready to drive there with a car load of chicken and other stuff to eat, and then would go to the church and have my computer die because I had it plugged in all night, but I had it plugged into the charger, but the charger was not plugged into the electric, so it wasn't charging. And then to go, okay, I'll go right home. And then to run out of my office, remembering to turn off the lights, but not grabbing my laptop. So getting home with no laptop. So now I'm here. And I'm grateful. I unfortunately didn't get to hear the music ministry do their thing or anything that has happened so far, but I think at this point I definitely am inspired to share with you something that came through me 20 some years ago that is very much in line with today's daily word. One thing that I was saying to the community at Hope Church this morning, they were not expecting me to be there. I did send an email after I found out I had the wrong schedule with Unity in the city to let them know that I would be there, but most of them had not seen that. And I was telling them about my experience of discovering that this was not my Sunday to drive to Brookline, and how I was inspired to go get more food to cook because I had quite a bit, but I began to suspect maybe I didn't have enough for everyone. And so I drove to Turner's Falls to fill up my gas tank and then to run to the grocery store in that neighborhood and get more chicken and more food. And then I called Sarah, my assistant, who was taking the trip with me. And she said, I don't believe this is your Sunday. There's nothing saying Reverend Carlos will be there. At that point, I called Raleigh and found out I had misheard or misremembered my Sunday. If I had not had Sarah coming with me, I would not have known that this possibly was not my Sunday. I would have gone to the grocery store, bought more food, come home, cooked more food. I would have loaded the food into the car. I would have driven to Brookline. At some point, I would have wondered why the sign wasn't out for our service where it's posted on Sundays. That would just be a curiosity. I haven't been there in a while, so perhaps they don't put the sign out anymore. Then later, I would have unloaded my chicken. I would have gone to the door. I would have found it locked. Now I'm really becoming concerned there in Brookline. I would have put the chicken back into the car and waited and waited and waited till finally I would call Raleigh and say, why is no one here? Only to find out I had misheard or misremembered. I would have then realized that I had driven to Brookline, that I had cooked the food, and that I had done all this for but one outcome. That outcome would have been for me to be back in the car, starting my drive home, and listening to a quite lengthy lecture from my inner critic self. My inner self-critic would have been pretty harsh on me. How foolish could you be not to have made contact with Raleigh or with Bob or with Deb or someone, even if just to say, I'm so excited that we're going to be together in person tomorrow. My inner self-critic would have probably been pretty relentless with me. I know that critic pretty well. My inner self-critic began a lecture after I got home from church, after my computer was dead, only to get into my bedroom and open my briefcase and realize you left your laptop in your office. At this point, my inner self-critic would have been doubly harsh. It would have called me spaced out, ungrounded, and more. That you're so ungrounded that you almost made a trip for nothing. Look, you're still so ungrounded the day after that you would leave your office and leave your laptop there. I don't know what's going on with you. My inner self-critic would have presented me with some information I saw on a program that had to do with people who did not hear well. I am wearing my fourth pair of hearing aids that I've purchased, and not one of them have given me or provided for me the little miracle I wanted, which is just to be able to hear people speak, to not miss so much. The program said that people like me, who are missing quite a bit of what's going on in the audio field, eventually begin to lose some of their mental capacity. They're missing so much that there are so many disconnects that begin to happen in the brain synapses. I have missed so much for so many years without even knowing I was missing anything. It's so interesting. When I went out to lunch yesterday with my daughter and my grandson, I could not hear the wait person telling me what the specials were. Even the third time when I asked him, please repeat it again. I couldn't hear the young man standing at the table. I could hear every clink of every dish, every time a spoon stirred coffee and clinked when it was put down on the saucer. I could hear bits and pieces of conversations from people across the room, but I couldn't hear what he was saying right next to me. The program I watched on people who go for years and years with not hearing what's being said around them was a program I actually wished I had not seen after it ended. It was not fun. It declared that if this is not resolved, I can probably look forward to a diminished mental capacity ongoingly. So my inner critic self would have been really harsh on me. I shut it up on my when I realized I left my computer at home. And quite honestly, there was a part of me that was a little bit relieved when my sister-in-law, who knows computers, had some trouble getting me connected. There was this little kid in me going, oh, so it's not just my stupidity. It's not just that I don't know anything. It's that stuff happens. Technology's wonderful, but I'm not the only one that can get on real quick and find the right button and shift the background. Here I am. I count among my countless blessings the blessing of the many, many times where trials, tests, tribulations were a possible part of my experience, but I was blessed to avoid that. I was blessed to avoid not being driving home from Brookline with a car full of food that I stayed up until 11 to prepare for my friends and fellow spiritual companions in Brookline. I was blessed that Karen and those of you who assisted her were able to have me on right now. So among my countless blessings, let me always include the blessing of having avoided more tests, more trials, and more tribulations than I can even imagine. I preached a sermon years ago that includes another form of blessings that I and you and everyone have received along those same lines. The sermon I preached some 20 or more years ago was titled by a title of a country western song that was quite popular at the time. The title of the song I chose as the title of my sermon. And that title is, Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. I do thank God for unanswered prayers that I have prayed. Throughout most of the year 1991, through all of the year 1992, and through most of the year 1993, I prayed to be gone. I didn't want to be here. My prayer was, let me die and go home and be with the Lord. I'm not having fun here. Let me die and go home and be with my daddy and with my brother Chuck and with my partner Johnny. Please, God, please. I had so many people around me praying for me to live, to recover, to resurrect, to renew. But I wasn't praying for a resurrection. No, my prayer was, please, God, just let it be over. My being here without them. I've also prayed prayers of another sort that I am grateful were not answered. At one point in my life, my baby sister, Crystal, was with a man who was the personification of an abuser. He abused her mentally, emotionally, and physically. He busted her lip on many occasions, gave her black eyes, bloody noses. All of us wanted her to get away from him. But if you know anything about people who were abused as children, you know that they tend to call other perpetrators and abusers into their lives. My sister Crystal, my baby sister, unknown to any of us but her, was being molested at 2.5 years old by the husband, the alcoholic husband of the only woman in Springfield, Illinois, who provided daycare for colored children. She had 30 less or more colored children in her house daycare center. Every time we dropped her off at the daycare center, she screamed and cried and dug her fingernails into the seat of the car, trying not to be made to get out of that car and go in that house. She called him the Debo. He's the Debo. We could see that he always had a half-pint bottle in his left back pocket, that he was always slurring. But nobody thought he was sexualizing the children, the babies. It would be years later until we discovered that. Every time we picked up my baby sister, she would be mute, staring into space, and wouldn't say a word. She would be called a mama's girl, a big baby, spoiled. When we got home, she would go into a corner. It was her ritual. She would sit on the floor with her legs crossed in the corner, and she would rock back and forth. And she would sing a little song she made up with only a few lyrics. She would sing, "Nobody loves me. Nobody cares. Nobody loves me. I drown in tears." She would be called a baby, a mama's girl, spoiled. When she had this abuser in her life, I prayed that he would die. Not just that he would die of natural causes. I prayed someone would kill him and make him hurt before they ended his life. That while they were in the process of killing him, they would say, "This is for Chrissy. This is for Chrissy." I prayed and I prayed and I prayed thank God for unanswered prayers. When I count my countless blessings, I count among them the many tests and trials and tribulations that I have been blessed to avoid in my life. Some as seemingly small as driving to Brookline with 2 pans full of chicken and rice, only to discover I was there for no other reason than to receive a lengthy lecture from my inner self-critic. When I count my countless blessings, I count among them the several unanswered prayers that I am eternally grateful were left unanswered. In one, a prayer that I would die. In another, a prayer that he would die. Both prayers I wanted answered at the time. And I wanted each of them to be answered ASAP. I didn't die. Eventually, though it seemed like an eternity to me, I once again reclaimed the joy of being alive on this beautiful blue marble, where for almost 3 years, I could not be sponsored into happiness by the sounds of birds singing or water flowing in a bubbling brook or the beautiful colored leaves on the deciduous trees in the fall of New England. My joy returned. My hope returned. My excitement returned. And I have grown to know that I know that I know that just being alive is what being alive is all about. Riding the roller coaster, living the mix for a dash that is temporary, yet whose purpose is eternal. I have learned that forgiveness is the key to happiness. The forgiveness of others and forgiving myself. And I have deeply learned the joy and the glory of being alive. I count every breath as an unspeakable blessing from the Creator. I greet every day with my long-spoken affirmation. It's the best day ever, and I will not change my mind. Timothy and I are wed to a practice that we practice each and every time some quote unquote test or trial or tribulation visits itself upon us. Notice that the water heater's broken and needs to be replaced. At the same time that the car needs $600 worth of work. At the same time as one or another of our pay gets cut because of limited funding. At the same time that we're going through something physically in terms of the health of our body. When these tests come, when these trials come, one of us will immediately look at the other and say, so this is heaven? And the other will say, yep. And the first one who asks the question will respond with, sweet. So this is heaven? Yep. Sweet. Heaven is a testing ground as well as a blessing ground. Because as we have said for many years, and I know Brother Bob knows how to say it, and I love to hear him say it. No test, no testimony of how I got over, how I overcame my sadness, how I overcame my bitterness, how I overcame my fear. My story is the story of God's glory. If you will allow me 5 more minutes. I am so blessed that I consistently receive messages and invitations from the voice. This is what it spoke 20 some years ago to me and through me. It is very much in alignment with today's daily word. Do not forget to marvel at the beauty of the world. Its beauty is splendorous. It's every shape and color. It's every shadow and light. Live the moments of your life alive. Be startled, moved, and quickened at the beauty of this world. Live your life on highest purpose and with deepest, endless gratitude and thanksgiving for the gift of life is life itself. And what a gift it is indeed. Don't wait until your time of dying to know that each breath, each moment of living life is the greatest gift of all in all the heavens and on this earth. Cherish every breath. Be awake and aware in every moment to the truth of your remarkable opportunity to love it all. Every minute, every encounter, every ever-changing frame of the movie, every chapter and page and paragraph and sentence of your story called my life. Live before you die. Live well before you die. Awake from sleep and vow to keep the promise you made before you were born, that you would be alive and startled and delighted and learning and growing and singing and dancing to the rhythm of a heart beating alive inside you, and a breath breathing in and out of you, nonstop, faithfully, endlessly. Keep the promise you made before you were born, that you would never take for granted your eyes with which to see, your legs with which to walk, your ears with which to hear, your mouth with which to talk, and to shout out praise for the speechless awesomeness of simply being alive and living in the land of opportunity, your very own opportunity. To have it be what you say it is, and then to go on to prove that what you say it is in fact what you say it is. You rejoiced at being allowed to be alive and living right here, right now. And you promised you would live each moment in the moment and not wander into past moments and made up memories of their joys and sorrows, or into fantasies of what may come, things you hope for, or things you fear. You promised to be here now in the here and now, marveling at the sheer wonder, the sheer magnitude, the sheer variety, the sheer amazement of the world all around you, everywhere you turn. Awaken the child who arrived so full of promise and promise says, the child who won the race for life and cried out at its birth, I am, I am, I am. Return to the place of astonishment and amazement. Find this place within you. Awaken the sleeping beauty that you were and are and will forever be in the true being of your true being. Keep the promise you made before you were born, that you would be an authentic self, blessing others to do the same, that you would teach peace by being peaceful, and love by being loving, and oneness by your consistent displays of all inclusiveness, and that you would marvel at the beauty of the world. Resurrect your sleeping awareness of the astounding, speechless gift it is to be living out the never-ending, never boring, always thrilling, sometimes scary, sometimes funny, sometimes dark, and sometimes sunny pictures of moments of now, 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 now. A hero's journey. Your being alive. Your life on earth, just as it is. A hero's journey. Your being alive. Your life on earth, just as it is. A hero's journey. Your being alive. Your life on earth, just as it is. You asked for it. You were granted it. To love it. To live it. Laugh when it is your time of laughing. Cry when you are moved to tears. Move when you are able. Rest when you are weak. Sing love songs and praises, and songs of mourning and the blues. Let your strengths delight you, and your weaknesses as well. Love your whole complicated, composite being self. Your beauty marks and blemishes. Your thrills and agonies. Judge none of it. Love it all. Embrace the whole of it. Proclaim your innocence. Accept your guiltlessness. Acknowledge your freedom. Your captivity is over. Stop taking things so seriously. Relax. Be gentle. Have fun. Giggle more. Don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. This is not your job. It is not your responsibility. It is beyond your capacity to carry or determine or control the weight of the world. Release it. Let it go. Relax your shoulders. Deepen your breathing. Lighten up. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. That's all it is, you know. Deep down inside, you know you fell asleep in heaven. You dream yourself on earth, and this you call being born. And you were born to live your dream alive and filled with wonder, and to marvel at the beauty of the world. So marvel at the beauty of the world. Let it be what it is, because just as it is a thing of majestic wonder and delight. Cast new eyes upon the world, and let it cause your soul to sing. Cast new eyes upon the world, and let it stir your heart to weep. Sing and weep in startled wonder and in joyous thanksgiving to life's creator for your endless reasons to be amazed in the moment. This life-like dream you're living is but a brief walk through a garden of delight. So marvel at the beauty of the world. Amen.